Hello, everybody. Uh, I'm I'm here. We're live. How's everybody doing? Um, See, the time this week is weird, right? Because um, I'm in I'm in North America, right? And we changed our time last week, but Europe hasn't changed their time. So I usually start at 3 p.m. my time, but it's 4 p.m. my time because Europe. I don't know. I hope that makes sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. But here I am. I'm alone. There's no Gick. There's no Constantine. And there's no exit. but I'm here. And yeah. So so yeah, there's kind of a thing I wanted to talk about that it's not really about the war necessarily. Well, it sort of is. I mean, it is, but not 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 in the way you'd think. Um, I was just looking at our spreadsheet, right? And I made we're like making a database right now to to store this better in the future. But I made a spreadsheet that stores the data, and we got to 20,000 rows in the spreadsheet, and we decided to make a new spreadsheet. And I decided to make a new spreadsheet on February 1st because it just seemed like a day for it, you know. And this new spreadsheet has, as of right now, 15,000 entries. So I made a new spreadsheet because we got to 20,000, and it's at 15,000 already. And I feel like I'm losing my mind. That's how I feel. So these stats that are right here, these are for March. And this isn't like super formatted or whatever. I don't know, the formatting is pretty trash. But I was just curious. I was just doing this a moment ago. I, I did this like literally like 3 minutes ago. I was just curious. So this is how many vehicles that we had, or not vehicles, but this is how many items we had in March. Just 1 month, not even a month, 15 days. Not even 15 days. It's like 14 and a half. 14 and a half days. Okay, so um you've seen I post the vehicle stuff like every day, so you've seen the vehicles. For, I mean, there have been days of like 100, like multiple days of 100 vehicles. A lot of them damaged, you know. So the number of destroyed kind of surprised me. But the drone dropped bombs. I honestly thought this would be a bigger number because I feel like I spent so much of my day doing them, and they're miserable. I hate them. But yeah, this is drone drop bomb plus the Baba Yaga. So I counted them in the same category. We don't always separate them in the data. I separate them now for sure, but we didn't always do it regularly. So anyway, so that's drone drop bombs. The FPV drones, 2,075 FPV drones. These aren't broken down by who used them or whatever, but 2,075 FPV drones just this month, dude. That's so much. And then you know, I have another database that's just for shelling, and that database is like much larger, like way bigger. It's getting close to like 300,000 at this point. But just in this database where we this is just our geolocation database. So this is only geolocated stuff. So it's 949 shellings. Jesus. And then oh, I forgot. No. Yeah, it should include MRL because I searched by shelling and we call it the MRL shelling is MRL shelling, and so any line that include the word shelling should include it. This should also include aerial MRL shelling. So like when they shoot the unguided rockets, it should include that too. And then there's airstrikes, 289 airstrikes, and there's 5,641 total. This all of these numbers will not add up to 5,641. These are not added together. These are all separate categories. There's a lot of overlap. Some of these drone drop bombs destroy some of these vehicles. So these bottom categories are all separate. So like these are all separate, but these three overlap. So yeah, man, it just this amount of data is really starting to get overwhelming. Just personally, like I spend like literally all my day going through it. It's getting overwhelming. It's getting hard to analyze when all you do is data entry. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would like to have more time for analysis, but right now it's kind of hard. But we have had a lot of geolocations, and some of them are pretty interesting to look at. Over the past like 2 days, I think, or three, maybe four. I think I first read about this um, on Tuesday, so that would be what, like 3 or 3.5 days ago or whatever. But anyways, Russia advanced northwest of Verbova. We have this whole little video of them. They drove up on this. I'll use the other view because I think it looks better. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe this is zoomed in more. Maybe I think I can zoom in more here. Nope. Wrong button. Let's see. Let's see if I can zoom in more. As soon as I click the right button, with the pump up the zoom, maybe. Is that better? And then we'll click it. Is that better? I think that's better, probably. Worcester. I know how to pronounce Worcester. Dude, I've been to Worcester, Massachusetts quite often, and we would get mocked if you said it wrong. So I know how to say Worcester. When I say stuff fell in a hole, I literally mean it fell in a hole. Okay, let me find an example. I'll find an example of something that fell in a hole. It literally, like, it's not it literally fell in the hole. Let me find one. This is apparently a vehicle that fell in a hole. Let's open it up. Is there a timestamp? No, no timestamp. Okay. I'm confused. Okay, just give me a second. I wasn't prepared to find a vehicle. Oh yeah, that's a bad example. That's a no wonder it didn't make sense to me. Okay, because it's a vehicle way off in the distance that fell in the hole. We want one front and center. I know you can't see what I'm looking at, but that's okay. We'll get to it. Okay, so here's a vehicle that fell in the hole. Okay, fell in the hole. What did you expect? It's just a vehicle in a hole. I mean, fall in the hole, it is an all-encompassing. Sometimes it's a crater. Sometimes it's just a hole. There's all sorts of holes out there. You can imagine all sorts of holes. Like sometimes, in a farm field, like you can have like tall grass in a field, right? And sometimes that tall grass might be hiding a hole. And sometimes you might just drive your tank right into a hole. So this is a hole can be anything, because if it's sufficiently steep, the vehicle can't get out. And this is particularly bad because they rammed the barrel straight into the ground, so that barrel is toast. The gun might be toast, and the tank is stuck and it can't get out, and they abandoned it. This is a T90M that got stuck in a hole, and they abandoned it. And I can't remember. Did they destroy it? No, they didn't destroy it. I think I have another picture. This is another picture of the tank. Yeah, it fell in a hole. What more is there to say? What are they? You want me to give you the dimensions of a hole? Dude, it's just a hole. Anyways, the let's move on. Okay. Let's zoom back in. What was I, like 175? Yeah, I think that's good. You can see that, right? Okay. So I'll hide the thingy, and we'll get back to what I was talking about. Holes are very dangerous. Anyways, the sometimes a lot of vehicles get stuck in trenches. Um, that was the initial vehicle that I found in my fell in a hole search. You can barely see what's going on because it's not central to the action here. But you see this BMP, it fell in a hole and it got stuck and they abandoned it. This is a BMP-1. You can see because these two hatches in the back means it's a BMP-1. A BMP-2 has one hatch. But yeah, this is a BMP. It got stuck in a hole. It's that simple. It's just a hole. In that case, the hole is a trench. But not always. Sometimes it's just a hole. But anyways, so Russia drove up on this little tree line here, and you can see that they drove up on this BMP-2. The BMP-2 was going blah blah blah, shooting the tree line. The infantry dismounted. They ran up. You can see in this other photo here. You see the infantry. They're all standing around this trench, and they apparently captured the trench. I'm not 100% sure whether they held it. Because the thing is that capturing a trench is much easier than holding the trench once you capture it. So just because you see people in the trench doesn't mean they captured the trench. Because oftentimes what happens is that, especially with these forward trenches, they might be very lightly manned or they might even be abandoned on the attack. So if you see the attack coming, you might abandon it and pull back to another trench that might be nearby, maybe like 100 meters away or something. And you might abandon that trench. The force, like the other force, whether they're Russian or Ukrainian, it works the same both ways. They will, go in, check out the trench, jump in, and then you start shelling it and hitting it with drones, and you can take really serious casualties in that point. Getting hit by FPV drones, getting hit by shelling, getting hit by mortars, maybe tank fire, whatever is available. And if you take enough casualties, you will abandon the trench, and then the defender will come and take the trench back. So this is a very, very common tactic. That's basically how these trench battles are fought. You don't typically fight for the trench. That's not typical. What's more typical is that once you give up the trench, you then try to wipe out the forces who took it. So that's a measure to reduce casualties. So that trench that we're talking about here is this trench here. Similarly, we have another video of Ukrainians attacking this trench, and they seemingly captured the trench. and they took Russian POWs. So what they did, and I really genuinely wish I could show this video because it's very interesting. And I think this video pretty much shows how trench warfare works now with the current weapons, because it's different, a little bit different than it used to be. Because what they did is the Ukrainian infantry moved up to like I don't know, like here, and then they just pounded this trench with FPV drones. They pounded it, hit it, hit it, hit it. The guys inside. This is a very small trench. You see, it's just like this right here. It's like a just like a cross or like a T or whatever, like a lambda, whatever whatever shape you want to call it. Anyway, it's just this little trench here, and there's like I don't know, like 5 guys in it, and there's not many places to hide. So if you can imagine, like maybe you would want to put like one guy in each point, and there's kind of 4 points, I guess, but there's like 5 guys total, so maybe two go in one point, and then because you want to spread out, and then say one drone comes in and blows up, that guy, if he survives, he might run over, and then you have like 3 guys here instead of two, and then another drone comes in, and if they survive, they might retreat to there. So that's what they kept doing. They kept using the drones to push them into one spot, and then they started coming in with dive bombers, and the dive bombers would come in at a pretty steep angle, and they would drop a bomb from pretty high up. Um, I don't know how high, like maybe 30, 40 meters up. So they would be diving down like this and dropping a bomb from 30, 40 meters up and pulling up and flying away. And they were dropping pretty large bombs. They were like, they may have been like anti-tank bombs, um, or maybe some sort of incendiary. It was a very large bomb, and they were dropping them into the trench. And these bombs would, once they all the guys gathered in one spot, they'll drop a bomb there, and then the survivors would try to run away, and then they'd hit them with FPV drones. So that's how this trench battle went until there was like one guy left and he surrendered, and Ukraine captured the trench. The airburst drones, yeah, they have used them. In fact, I saw one yesterday. I think I saw one yesterday. Not sure. Um, that's another video I wish I could show you. I wish I could show you this stuff. Um, I can find the link. That's the most I can do for you, and then you can watch it on your own. Where did I put it? Oh yeah, because it was so interesting to me. I logged it as airburst. Um, yeah, this is the link. I'll put it in the video description. I can't play the video. But I can't tell if this was an actual um here I put the link in the description. I can't tell if this video depicted an actual airburst or, and we did map this too, so it happens right here. Um which is in Avdiivka. So I couldn't, okay, this is actually perfect. I couldn't tell. You see it blew up in the air. I couldn't tell if it actually airburst intentionally, or because there's a Russian right here. The Russian was shooting at the drone with a rifle. It's possible he set off the drone with his rifle. But the reason I don't think that's the case is because if you look around the Russian, there's this like circle of shrapnel, and it's aimed at the Russian. It's not like it didn't blow up randomly. Like it's not a random distribution of shrapnel. The shrapnel like went in a cone right at the guy. Yeah, I'm reading the comments. I see your comments. But yeah, this is the view from the drone right before it blew up. So you can see that it's flying towards the dude, and then the guy is shooting it with his rifle, and then it explodes. Okay. But anyways, that video, if you want to see it, it's right there in Avdivka. And I also put the link in the description. But anyways, there's this combat going on in northwest of Verbova. This is one of the main advances that you see from the Russians over the past few days. I believe this advance probably happened on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, maybe Monday, somewhere around then. The videos really only came out yesterday, mostly, because I there was these desert crosses were destroyed, and I believe those desert crosses were part of this assault. Um, but those were just we found those on the 13th, and then yesterday we have these this um, cluster shelling, etc., etc. There was a Russian vehicle destroyed here. I am not sure whether that vehicle means this is a gray area or not. I'm not entirely convinced. You could argue that this is all gray area. And in fact, I did initially map this as a gray area, um, but then my internet crashed and and it reverted. It reverted back to that prior to that map change. So I'm not sure what's going on here because it kind of looked like Ukraine may have captured it back, but Russia may. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. The Ukrainian side of what river? I don't know what river you're talking about. There's so many rivers. It's a big country. Yeah. So yeah, that's I don't have too much else to say about this general area. Russia did uh they pushed into Rabatana. They tried to capture it again, and they got pushed out again with huge casualties. To be honest. Anyways, so that's all I really have to say about Rabatana. Um, I don't really have anything to say about this whole. Oh well, there's near Prutny there was the or whatever. Russia did advance here. Uh, Ukraine is shelling them with tank fire. Uh, this isn't particularly um, important in my mind. It's just like a small advance. You could argue that they may have advanced here as well, near Novodonetsk, right here. Again, not super important, and it's weird because Russia does occasionally really heavily shell this intersection, which confuses me. And near Shevchenko, um, it's debatable which of these two tree lines is their primary attack because they seem to use both about equally. I marked the east one as their primary attack. You could say the west one as their primary attack. It doesn't really matter. They're kind of advancing on both, and their goal is to get to this tree line here that runs east to west. Um, but to my knowledge, they have never been able to establish themselves there. They do move up and drop off infantry. Particularly here, they dropped off infantry at this trench system right here. But I believe they're all driven out, and basically all the vehicles involved in that attack were destroyed. Because what they did is I think they drove up kind of like this, and they kind of did like a this weird curve, and they tried going back down, like that was their plan. But in reality, they went up and did this curve and all got destroyed right here. So I think there was I can't remember the tank, but there was a tank. Anyway, go back in time, you can see it. I don't remember what data, or I guess it was over here. Yeah, it was there. Okay. Anyway, same thing. They lost the TADBV. They lost BMP3, and they entered this trench here. And we have some you could, if you watch this video, you can see the Russian infantry in that trench there. Uh, yeah, that's that. So, are there concerns about the Ukrainian losses recently? Um, well, it seems to me that Russia is they've likely simplified the way in which they call in strikes. So it used to be that Russia really had no problem spotting the Ukrainian assets, that they could find the HIMARS, they could find radars, they could find it with their drones. But by the time they called in a strike, Ukraine usually withdrew already, or they don't stay in one spot forever. They're not permanent positions. You set up, you stay for a few hours, and you pack up and leave. And when you do that, uh, Russia sometimes, but most of the time, couldn't hit them because it took too long. Russia's like the chain was too long, and it seems that Russia's done a lot to simplify that chain. So from the time that they spot a target to the time they engage that target appears to have very substantially dropped. And this has led to all sorts of disasters. If you remember, where was that? Was it Stepnahursk? Anyways, it doesn't matter. They did the strike on the Ukrainian like award ceremony. Now, to be fair, Ukraine was in that position for like an hour and a half prior to the Russian strike. And even then, an hour and a half is just an incredible amount of time to wait. And it's bizarre that Ukraine waited that long in one spot in the open. Obviously, like by obviously I mean they're so easy to spot. And Russia did a strike, and it wiped out a big number of Ukrainian Ukrainian men, soldiers and officers. So there was that, and there's other examples similar to that. But back then, if it took them an hour and a half to fire their missile, now it seems to be much faster. Some of these strikes, when you compare, I mean, the only way that we have to compare time is like the angle of the sun, and I'm not an angle of the sun expert at all. I don't know what you think about the angle of the sun, but we have some angle of the sun experts who analyze this, and then they look at it, they say, at most like 15 minutes passed, or at most 20 minutes passed, so we're talking very short periods of time from the, and to be fair, we don't know when the object was spotted, because it's probably unlikely that when they filmed a video of a drone hovering over something, it's probably not the drone's initial finding. It's probably the drone found it and has been circling for a while, and they grabbed those frames from the video, or that like 30-second period, because maybe the drone was in better focus, or maybe it was a better camera angle or something like that. It's probably not the initial sight. So we don't know how long the drone's been looking at the asset. But from the initial sighting that we see in the video, it seems to be like maybe sometimes 15, 20 minutes from that time to the time of the strike, which is worrying. It's not good. People saying Starlink, it has nothing to do with Starlink. I can guarantee you it has nothing to do with Starlink. I'm not sure what Starlink would even, whatever. They've been working on simplifying these missions, these fires. If you go back in time and you look through the criticisms of Russians, of the Russian army, so the Russian mill bloggers, Russian soldiers, etc., their number one complaint was always, and this is going back to the beginning of this war, that it took too long. It took too long to go from spotting an object to doing your fire mission. And it was too long across the board, whether you're calling in mortars or artillery or a missile. It was always too long, and it was a constant source of complaint. And now it appears that Russia has genuinely worked on it and maybe fixed some of those problems, which is bad news for Ukraine. It's bad news. The Russian recon drones are clearly getting better, but I don't think the drones getting better has anything to do with what's going on. I think that the drones getting better is a quality of life improvement. You don't have to strain your eyes looking at a terrible camera view. You can look at a higher res camera, and it's just easier for you. But it doesn't really change the capabilities of the drone. It makes the user of the drone happier, you know? And maybe every once in a while you'll see something that you would have missed or something like that. But that's not really the core thing here. The core thing is they appear to be shortening the amount of time it takes to go from spotting the enemy to engaging the enemy. Okay, so we have Harry O joined our little green eyeball clan, and Lord Flashheart gifted 10 memberships. Thank you very much. These the memberships go towards basically paying for the bills for the map. That's basically what all these donations go to. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Comment not found. Was that intentional? Did you intentionally write comment not found, or is it an accident? Because I think it's a funny joke, but I don't know if it's intentional. and thank you, Merc. Does Ukraine have enough recon drones? I mean, you can never have enough drones. You can never have enough. And I also don't know what kind of drone you're talking about, because there's lots of types of drones that do all sorts of different things. So there's like a Mavic drone. A Mavic drone helps, a company, a platoon, that's kind of the level of like a Mavic, generally. It helps the end of like the soldiers, And then there's kind of bigger drones. There's there's like a shark drone or whatever. There's a Fury. There's all these different drones that are more increasingly capable, with longer ranges, longer flight times, longer loiter times. Better cameras, better stabilization. Some of them very obviously have AI, and the word AI really offends people. Let's call it machine learning. It has machine learning. It can spot whether something is a vehicle or not. And also, interestingly, some of these drones very obviously, and if you watch enough footage, you'll see what I mean. And if you watch just a little bit of footage, you might not see it, but if you watch enough, you can see that some of these drones can save. They can save something in their memory. So you can look at something like a tank or whatever, or a tree or whatever it is. You can like save it and then move on to something else and look at that. And then you can click a button and it will go back to its memory items. And even if those items are moving, it can track them. I'm not sure how it tracks them. I don't know if there's like a second camera or how that works exactly, but they obviously can have they have this capability. Some of the drones, not all of them, they have that capability that they can track multiple objects, even objects they're not looking at. Okay. All right. Yeah, there's a lot of unfound comments now. Okay. All right. So moving on to the next topic. Um, Nova Mikhailivka, the situation appears to be deteriorating for the most part. Um, this central part of the town. Thank you. You're getting a lot of donations, Dave. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Bob. Anyway, the central part of Nova Mikhailivka is a bit confusing to me because we get reports that Russia has captured this whole like middle area of the town, but then we also get video of them shelling it, or so it's kind of weird. That's why I keep this as a gray area. It seemed Russia has, I believe they've captured this trench that goes along this road here, and if there's a video recently that shows this trench, you can see this trench right here, and that this goes basically along the whole road all the way basically to this intersection, and Russia has definitely captured that. Um, I've also heard that they may have also captured these farm fields, and there's also rumors that they've captured this whole south. But thank you, Luis. Gick Gick this weekend. He's on vacation. Gick is on a hard earned vacation. We let him out of the basement. We unshackled him, and he has gone through the outside. I when he walked out the door, he was kind of squinting, and kind of covering his eyes with his hand. I think the sun was new to him. He hasn't seen it in a while, but we let him out. We let him out. And then Luis is gifting memberships too. Thank you, Luis. Anyway, so that's kind of the news I have for Nova Nikolaevka. Is just that generally speaking, the center of the town is, I think it's still a gray area. This eastern part of the town is collapsing. Russia may control even more than depicted. Not entirely sure. The southern part of the town is largely irrelevant. This is basically a minefield, so it's not really much to control. This cemetery is unknown to me who controls the cemetery. It might be Russians. It doesn't make sense that Ukraine controls it, so it's either a no man's land or controlled by Russia. And beyond that, I'm not so sure. So, um, and just to speak of the importance of this town, Nova Mikhailivka itself is not important. It's not a big deal. What is incredibly important is Konstantinivka. So Konstantinivka is incredibly important because it controls this highway that comes uh, north out of Wuladar. And this highway is the primary, uh, road into the city. This this southern road is obviously a bit dangerous. There are like other paths that you can take. Obviously, there's including this one right here. But this is the main paved road, and obviously paved roads are better. So yeah, that's why Konstantinivka is incredibly important. Also, Vodiana is more or less this Vodiana area is where Ukraine has for a long time kept their more important resources, like air defenses, radars, things like that are often kept not in the town, but just in the general vicinity of Vodiana. So you don't really want Russia moving into here because then it blinds you. You have to move all those resources back, and it blinds you to all the things going on around here. So you want to you want to control Vodiana. The reason why Vodiana is typically used is because there's this hill that goes up. I believe the top of the hill is just south of Vodiana, and then there's kind of a dip, and then it goes kind of back up again on the other side of Vodiana. So and this dip you can see in the form of like this pond. So but the dip itself um, it kind of shields you from artillery fire if you are positioned in certain places. You get shielded from artillery fire at least from one side. So if you're like on this side of the hill, you can be shot from the east but not from the south, and vice versa depending on where you go. So Vodiana is used to kind of hide things because it's kind of a bowl, and I don't want to over exaggerate the shape here, but because it's not super um, it's not like a cliff, it's just we're talking like tens of meters, but it can be enough to block artillery. And thank you, Kathy. So yeah, so that's why Konstantinivka is important. It protects this highway, it protects Vodiana, and it protects Vuladar. So this position is of huge significance to Ukraine. In fact, this entire kind of uh, what's the word, agglomeration, this agglomeration of towns is of incredible significance. Now over the past few days or week or whenever, I can't remember when this happened, um, the White Angels have been operating, evacuating um, people who are still in these towns. um, this guy, I believe, was wounded by an airstrike or whatever, and they had to evacuate him. Notice how um, there are tanks, etc., being lost in the general vicinity of the town, and it's under constant barrage from like everything. So um, Ukraine is trying to evacuate all the remaining civilians here. The civilians are. I mean, you can see, just like look at this guy. Like, it's an elderly man. Oop, that was a mistake. Anyway, it's an elderly man, uh, in bad health, wounded. He's rather skinny. You know, he's these are the sorts of people in these towns. They're elderly, typically unhealthy, sometimes disabled. Have I seen Ukraine's new defenses? Yeah, I've seen them. I was watching them build them on the satellite image. I've been watching them build over the past, year and a half, 2 years, whatever. I've seen them. Problem with them is that they're so far away. They're so far away. We needed, like, what Ukraine needs is like defenses here, like right here, or right here, or something like that. They need defenses like up here, not back there, like back here. I mean, it's good. It's good to have defenses back there, but you want defenses up here too. And these are the defenses that are missing. It's these. It's like, defending these farm fields. So if they break through Pobieda, you don't want them pushing all the way to Krakow. You don't want them, going around this, pond, lake, whatever. You don't want them going around and getting to the back, and you don't want them back there. It's bad. You want a strong front line. Um, Here, let me show you something. No, I don't feel like showing you actually. But yeah, these Russia. Actually, I will show it. Just give me a moment. Uh, okay, this might get intense. Okay, this is not all the losses. Okay, but these are just some losses that Russia took, uh, attacking near Vuhledar. Okay, this is not all of them. This is not exclusive. Like, it's not all of them. This is just some. So these are losses that, yeah, I think some of them I have pictures, some of them I don't. Yeah, I guess a lot of these I don't. But these are all of these represent tanks, BMPs mostly, sometimes other things, but usually tanks and BMPs. Sometimes there's photos, sometimes there's not. But these are their attacks on Vuhledar. Some of the attacks. This isn't even all of them. The this is their attack on, Nova Mikhailivka. So you can see there are tons of losses in these attacks, and these are not all of the losses. These are just some of the losses. And similarly, this is the menagerie area. These are losses here. These are not all of them, just some of them. So, um, yeah. So we can kind of move around. These are just the logged Russian losses that we have. I want to stress, it's not all of the losses. These are just some of them. Hey, Constantine. Okay. Okay. Uh, yeah. So, I'm just showing our map of Russian losses at the moment. How does it make you feel? Here, I'm gonna turn off everything except Russian losses. Oof, it's a lot. Oh,
Really? commit actions of eliminating themselves, internal limbs, and thousands of destroyed equipment. So it's like they can tolerate these losses, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, the losses they're sustaining are so enormous that I don't think they can sustain this. Like they can for a while. Like for sure, they can for a while. I think they might have like a year left, maybe less. It really depends. I think at their current rate of losses, like what they're losing right now, I think they have less than a year left. But I don't expect them to lose this many for much longer. I think they're going to stop their offensive in May or April. So I think there might only be like 4 more
Are you
weeks.
talking about, like, can you identify quantify their human losses? Because
I
quantifying
I
their
don't know.
human is much easier. But
Yeah, I
they're
can't.
pulling out their junk like BMPs, BMP2s in large numbers now.
Yeah, I cannot estimate their human losses, and uh, I wouldn't even know how to analyze their human losses. From what I understand, Russia has a maximum of 5 million men that they could use, and the more that they use, the worse it is for Russia. But I don't really know how many they've used already. I'm not really sure how to count it, and I'm not sure what it means when they take casualties. Like I'm not sure like what their long term thing is. I just don't know how to look at it. But their vehicle losses are much easier. Like it's just math. It's counting plus math and logic. Russia has a finite number of vehicles in their storage. They have a finite number of vehicles that they can produce. And those two things combined, it's just it ends up being like a math problem at the end of the day. So the vehicles are much easier for me. The unknown for vehicles is their barrel production. We don't know their barrel production. We don't know how many engines they have available. Engines might, and I think Russia could get into a position where they run out of engines before they run out of vehicles. Engines are actually kind of a big problem. So we don't know the figures for those things though, and also just generally spare parts. We don't know their spare part situation. Like maybe they have enough spare parts to last forever, or maybe they're running low. Or like I have no idea. But yeah, uh, those were the Russian losses we're looking at for a moment there. Does it appear that their offensive is close to culminating? To me, it does, honestly. I kind of think they are close to culminating.
I agree with Andrew here. I don't think like they can go on too long like this. But they couldn't. They take active measures usually to keep pushing. So they will probably need to mobilize to continue, and maybe they can scale down their front, take a pause, and then they can come back to it. But once again, like the equipment situation for them is quite, like Andrew's saying, is quite bad. They're losing a lot of BMPs, and I don't think they can produce them in those huge quantities. They just don't
Well,
have the factories to do that.
I
And
think they make like
they're
35 at a time now.
a month.
I think so. I think it's 35 a month. And I think they deliver them every other month or maybe every third month. So they like deliver like 60 or 100 at a time, something like that. Like every few months.
Yeah, and how much they lose? They lose like, I don't know, 5 of them a day, right?
Let's look at the stats. Oh man. Let's get
Yeah,
this.
so there is no way they can sustain this, but what they do, they understand the sustainment rate. They understand that it's not sustainable, so they like with general, like they started the war. It was crazy. They had huge losses, and so they said, okay, we have to scale down and we have to take the war to Kharkiv and Donbass because we're not pulling out Kiev, and they withdrew their troops from there. Um, then they, decided, okay, we cannot sustain Kharkiv either. Let's just focus on Donbass, and that's what they did. So they may scale down, or they may, try to find additional sources for the equipment, like buying it from, I don't know, finding some stocks of BMP ones. You'd be surprised, but I think there were in the world 35,000 BMP ones were produced, for example. So maybe they can find markets where they're still available. Find some old Chinese stocks or something. Um, who knows? But they will definitely will not stop. And I think this is actually good for Ukraine because we just need to make sure that we're efficient in our defense. For that, we need to build the proper fortifications and do mobilization. And then Russians would essentially, keep pushing until they're simply, grinding themselves down. Because, like you said, even though they may culminate, but they will recover and go again. But there is a point until you cannot recover anymore, because it's just, there is only finite number of people that they have, and there is only finite number of equipment that they can produce, and there is no way they can scale it to amount for the losses that they have right now, because the numbers are just they're just crazy. I mean, they cannot produce 120 BMPs a month. It's just not feasible for them.
No. So these are
Not,
the numbers of destroyed per day that I have. And their BMPs for February is
are
over.
leading the way.
What's that?
Are leading the way.
Yeah, they're losing 4 BMPs per day in February. This is not
Yeah,
totally
and
up to
also it's
date
not
because
all of them. It's not all of the losses, right? Because we don't. You don't have everything. It's
no,
probably
no.
there is extra 20% that you can add to,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you're being
So
generous. I mean,
yeah, so this does not include all of February because I think I made this on like February 22nd or something, or the 23rd, or this doesn't include the last week, but I don't think the last week changed anything, to be honest. You could see that their MTLB is on the way up, and BTR is on the way down. I kind of feel like in March this may have reversed. I think in March, I think I've seen more BTRs than MTLBs, but I'm not entirely sure on that. But there's been a lot more BTRs. So these are those are the IFVs and APCs. Then we also have the tank stats. So these are the tanks. Um, uh, so the T80s are on the way up again. The T72s have been going down. T90s are more or less steady. There's not that many T90s, and the T62s are going up apparently. Although it's kind of
so
irrelevant.
they're like losing around like one tank per day, 3 tanks per day, right?
I think it's like 2.5.
Yeah, so multiplied by, and they have no weekends, right? They have no holidays.
No.
They take no breaks.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
I take no breaks.
multiplied by 165 days, and you get approximately $1,000, 1,000 tanks a year annually. and it's a huge number to produce 1,000 tanks. It's huge. I mean, you have to have your economy working on it, and combined with BMP losses, combined with human losses, combined how much ammo they're being expending. It's they're gonna have to use probably 40% of their GDP, or even 50% of their GDP to have this to sustain this number of losses when they run out of their stocks that were accumulated during the Cold War. So, like, if they switch to 50% of their GDP on war, they can sustain in terms of equipment, not people. But their economy is gonna be hit a lot because of missing people that are being sent to war. And the problem that they're gonna face is that another issue is that when you have 50% of your country working on the war effort, your economy, like your life, becomes pretty much shit, because you don't produce anything, but you produce tanks. So you like their capacity to buy stuff will decrease significantly, and it's not looking for good for them in the long term, but not in any way I'm saying that it looks good for Ukraine. Ukraine has the same issues, same problems, and of course even with smaller losses, we have issues that we are much smaller country with much less financing. That's why I'm not. While this is good to see Russia suffering so much and having so much losses, Ukraine also has problems. Even though our losses are much easier, much less, and we are much more efficient at using what we have, it's still, I would say, quite bad for Ukraine as well.
Well, here, I'm gonna make this chart include March.
So this chart includes all the armor, right?
Yes,
The
all
tanks and
armor.
BMPs.
I'm gonna make it go all the way to March. This will be a lot harder to read, but it'll just be interesting, at least to me. Okay, so this is this year basically. This is how many vehicles they lost per day this year. You can see they've had a few big days. They've had a few big ones. Yeah, this armor. So the red is kind of the most important.
This is per day. This is not per month.
These each of these is a day.
Mm. So I have a question then, because we have
Yep.
four data points here. Well, captured is not really a data point anymore, but what are the chances? How would you rate their chances of recovering damaged or abandoned equipment?
It really depends. It depends on what exactly is going on, because if when they abandon a vehicle in an area where the front line is relatively stable, that vehicle is almost always destroyed. Ultimately, like Ukraine will either hit it with FPV drones or drop bombs on it until it explodes.
Yeah, I know that's what our fellas do a lot. Like, they have a lot of drops into those open hatches.
Yeah.
Then they try to use NFPV to strike the place where the ammo is stored.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try to finish off and make sure that equipment is not reused right now.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking, and that's why I understand how I'm trying to understand what is their like chances of the recovery. And
Yeah.
from what I think, they're pretty low. That's what that's what I think. That's what I think.
In areas where they're advancing, they'll probably recover most of them. Like today, for example, uh, they advanced a little bit near Tonenka, and their infantry are now where Russia lost 2 tanks and Ukraine lost 1 tank, all abandoned, not destroyed. So Russia is now declaring that they captured those 3 tanks. Now, obviously, it's more more complicated than that. An infantryman cannot capture a disabled tank. You need a recovery vehicle or at least a tank to pull it away. So the infantry being there doesn't mean anything, but it seems pretty likely that Russia will, unless those tanks are like immediately destroyed, they'll probably recover all 3 of them. Um, yeah, it really just depends. So the vehicles that are abandoned around like Avdiivka are much more likely to be recovered than vehicles abandoned in like, I don't know, like Rabatina or something. Those will almost certainly be destroyed. So yeah, it just really depends. But yeah, probably a very large number of these abandoned tanks will be destroyed, and many of them may have been destroyed already. And we do see tanks or just vehicles in general that we have marked as as abandoned. We see them get destroyed all the time, like on a daily basis almost. And I should probably do a better job going back and marking them as destroyed, to be honest. Anyways, I mark them as destroyed on the map, but I don't necessarily do it in the data, or at least this data. Anyways, Constantine, do you have any news about the quality of trenches that Ukraine is digging recently or in the future?
So I have news that they're gonna get better soon because we're delivering an excavator to our troops. First excavator we're gonna try to deliver next week. It's not clear yet because we're waiting for the documents to be finalized, but we have a plan to do the next week. It's gonna be a JCB backhoe excavator for 26 Ukrainian Armed Forces Brigade, and they're gonna use it to save their lives and the lives of their equipment. They're gonna build bunkers with them, and yeah, that's what's gonna happen soon. And over next 2 weeks, we plan to deliver 2 more excavators, tracked ones. It's medium-sized excavators, like 5 to 6 tons. But they're really quick. They are really they do their job pretty well, and they will be used by the 59th Brigade. Sorry, 58th Brigade. And they do need it, and they do anticipate it very much, and they think that it's gonna significantly reinforce their position. So this is the excavator that we delivered. And also small news on our front is that we have just delivered to our Kharkiv warehouse a new batch of drones. It's 68 Mavic 3 drones.
That's
so it's
good.
a lot. It's more, yeah, it's more than 100 to almost $150,000 worth. So it's really big. It's really big delivery for us. So let me share a picture with you. Can I send it to you in Telegram?
Yeah.
I've got to find your name because you.
Yeah. Because my name is like
Yeah. So,
anonymous.
yeah,
Basically, it's not a real name.
I just shared it on Telegram. On Telegram.
Are we an official think tank? No. We're not. We're not official at anything.
Not official and not a think tank.
I don't even think. Okay, so the image is a little circle spinning right now. But yeah, the excavator's oh, there it is.
Yes, this is our warehouse. It's full of drones now, and it has cats.
Look at that cat. That's a cute cat.
Yep.
That's a lot of drones. A lot of drones. Are you gonna like build them out and like make a flower in the middle of a field? Or the or do you not do that?
So our team in Lviv did something with them.
Yeah.
They made a nice pictures with them. In Kharkiv, we don't have a team that can do pictures. I have only my brother and the other guy, Tolik, my friend, well, and my mom, of course. But they like the picture quality of pictures that they make can be compared with with the pictures made by the cell phones in in early 2000s. So it's like really terrible, and they cannot do anything. They're good, and at building, at fixing excavators. They're good at building cages for crab armor. They're good at delivering stuff, but they're not good at cheesy stuff for the social media. So that's probably the best we got. The picture with the cat.
Should make the cat your media manager. Anyway, for the people who don't know why I said flower, is because I think it was on Women's Day on March 8th. Ukraine made just lots and lots of flowers out of drones. That's why. Anyway, they posted the videos all over. One of those flower videos is how we found out about all of the losses in Klashivka. It was the flower video. Here, I think the easiest way for me to show this is this. Like, what was it? It was here, right? Yeah. So like all of these losses here, there's like, BMPs, tanks, more BMPs, more tanks, more BMPs. All of these losses we found out from one of those videos. It was a video that they just threw together to like celebrate like women in the armed forces, and they dropped on us like 13 destroyed Russian vehicles that no one knew about. And man, like the frequency in which that happens, that like we hear that just like, oh, by the way, this random place, Russia lost like 20 vehicles. That happens so often that it blows me. It really makes me wonder just how many vehicles we're missing from our losses. No, the stream this week is late because of Europe. This is so like there's like there's two-week periods every year where Europe and North America are in different time zones relative to each other. So because this stream is geared towards Europe, I did it on the European time. So it's an hour late in North America, basically. But I think, is it next Sunday? I think next Sunday Europe changes their clock so that we'll go back to normal. Yeah, we don't have a Women's Day in the U.S., do we? We have Mother's Day. That's like the closest we get.
In Ukraine, Women's Day is big. It's really big.
Yeah.
Like your your girlfriend, your wife, your daughters would start reminding you about it. You know, and if you mess up and you forget to buy something, oh man, you're in big trouble. And and buying something on this day is almost impossible. Like the prices for the flowers, they just go like 5 times higher, 5 times higher. And like the stores, wherever you can buy like a quick presents that you can easily think about, they cost crazy amount of money.
So you're telling me that March 8th is a really bad day to buy chocolate?
Yeah, and it is. And especially like after 4 or 5 o'clock, that's people usually come back home. You see all those crazy men running around from one flower store to another trying to pick something, to assemble a bouquet that is looks at least a bit decent, because everything usually is sold out. There is nothing left, and you're like looking at the, I don't know, like a mop instead of flowers, flower bouquet for, I don't know, $70 or something like this.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway, get back to the news a little bit. Berdici is not going well, or maybe it's going to plan. I'm not sure. My map is not working right now. I can't. Okay, it fixed itself. Okay, so yesterday, or at least I don't think it literally happened yesterday, but we got the video yesterday, and basically we had this assault of. I think I'm gonna have to reload the map because it's extremely sad at the moment, because I probably have like 9,000 destroyed vehicles in memory right now, and it's just not happy. Let's let's give this the old okay. Ooh, they're still on. Okay, I'll take them off. Okay, so Russia did this assault, yes, or anyway, they did an assault where they drove down this road. They lost a BTR. They kept driving. They lost another BTR. Kept driving, lost another BTR, but they kept going because they're very brave. And they eventually got up to here. Notice how this is like all the way on the other side of Berdici. They drove all the way across. They dropped off some infantry. The BTR exploded. Bad day for BTRs. And Bradley was kind of driving back and forth, shooting at the infantry. I don't think the infantry survived, to be honest. But the Bradley drove back and forth and eventually drove away. And that's their assault in Berdici. To me, it's pretty solid evidence that Ukraine doesn't control the town at all anymore. It seems the whole entire town, or maybe with the exception of these roads really far in the west, but basically the whole town is a gray area, from what I can tell. Now, maybe this is the Ukrainian plan. Maybe they were actually making no effort to defend the center of the town. We saw them. They drove up a Miklik and they tried to blow up. Apparently, we don't actually know what they were using the Miklik for, but we think they were going to use the Miklik to blow up houses so that the Russians couldn't use them. But the Miklik was destroyed, and yeah, uh, Russia probably controls the eastern part of the town, and the western part is very likely contested. I don't think any of those infantry survived. None of the BTRs just survived. They're all destroyed. So that's kind of this is kind of the main attack north of Avdiivka going on at the moment. To the west of Avdiivka, there's a battle going on for this kind of industrial area to the west of Tonenka. And it seems that Ukraine is going to have to leave this town in the near future. Once this industrial area falls, and it will eventually. I'm not going to give you a date, but it will fall. But once that falls, the town is going to be lost, probably really quickly. You might be able to control this the northwest part, but I'm not so sure. So you're going to see Ukraine fall back to some, hopefully, defensive position behind the town. I don't think they ever made defenses, so it's kind of a bring your own shovel sort of deal. And in Prvomaiske, it's unclear to me exactly what Russia controls in this town. We know that Ukraine definitely does not control the southern part of the town, or this, anyway, we're here. I'm gonna go to the other version of the map. Okay, we know that Ukraine doesn't control the southern part of the town. We don't know if Russia controls it though. They might, or they might not. It's very confusing. They drove up a BMP. They drove up a BMP, did their little attack. The BMP exploded. It's unclear whether this attack was a success or a complete failure. I got the impression it was a failure, and that the BMP overextended, was destroyed, and Ukraine retook those positions. That's kind of the impression that I got. It might not actually be true. Russia may control that area, or it may be a gray area, and all the area behind it could be controlled. I'm not really sure. It's all very confusing. There's no solid proof of really anything. Of note, there were a bunch of these night vision drone attacks in this general area, which was interesting. In fact, Ukraine has been using a lot more night vision FPV drones. I don't really know what to make of that. Why did Ukraine take so long to start fortifying the front line? Well, that's the mystery. I can't answer that question. I mean, we've talked about it. We know Ukraine did the finger pointing thing where they couldn't decide whose job it was to build the defenses. Are they supposed to hire companies to build it? Is the military supposed to build it? Whose responsibility? Who's paying for it? How much is it going to cost? Like, there's that whole thing. I don't know what to tell you. At the end of the day, they didn't build the defenses, so this is what we have to live with.
Yeah, unfortunately, our political leadership did not they're slow there. And I don't, no matter what people think of Zelensky, I think he has too many flaws to be, proficient leader. So I think that it was his mostly procrastination to build it. So I think he should be the responsible guy here. Of course, our military, you can blame the military, but in the end, it all comes down, to the commander in chief and of the entire Ukrainian military, and that's Zelensky. And if he would give order to build the fortifications, if he would provide the equipment, the materials, we would have that. So in the end of the day, I would say it's his responsibility.
Building defenses, like I can understand lots of things. I can understand lots of things. Okay, like I can understand not making ammo. I can understand the benefits program that I don't want to talk about, but I can understand that, like, it can be justified to me, I guess, even if I think it's a bad idea, I can at least understand it. I cannot understand not building defenses. I just can't comprehend how that's possible. Like, how, like, of all the things. Like, I can even understand not doing the medical training and not giving medical supplies. Like, I can see a justification for it, even if I think it's stupid. I can understand the justification. But the defenses, I can't understand. You have to build defenses. Like, it's obvious you have to. And like, I don't care how you do it. Like, if you want the military to do it, you can go that direction. If you want private industry to do it, I think if I think almost every country in the world would have private industry build it. To be honest, I think like almost every country would. But if you want the military to do it, you can do that too. Like, that'll be fine. But come on, you have to actually do it though. Anyways, um,
I gotta jump. Unfortunately, well,
okay,
I have to call my mom. She asked me to call her, so
okay,
I cannot ignore that, man. Thanks for having me.
all right. Bye. Thanks for
Um,
coming.
Take care. Hope you have a great stream. Thanks.
Bye. Okay, so Constantine has left us. I honestly don't have much more news to talk about. Um, I don't really have any news from the Klashivka area. It's more or less the same as it has been for a while. The same about Ivanivska and anyway, this whole this whole this whole area is more or less the same. I believe, or maybe it's today that I mapped it. I haven't mapped today yet. Anyway, there's been a lot of civilians being evacuated from this area, but other than that, not too much different. I've heard. Um, anyway, there's been rumors that Ukraine did some counterattacks near Bilohorivka, and that those counterattacks were successful. Not in that they took ground, but successful in that they were successful combat missions. And their goal was to like go into an area and clear it of Russians and then pull back out. And they claim that they did that successfully. I don't know if that's true. I guess maybe we'll find evidence of that in the future. And I have no particularly in no particular news from the Terni area. We know that Russia has been kind of building up forces to make a push here, but I don't think there's been any significant changes. And I have basically no news of from Kupiansk really at all. Like nothing basically. There's been a lot of shellings and oh boy, the thing. Okay, fix it. There's been a lot of shellings in around Kupiansk. There's been Shahed strikes. There's been tons and tons of airstrikes, all in this area, um, but nothing particularly. No changes to the front line or anything like that. Some things to note. Um, there's been a lot of missile strikes, etc., going on pretty daily, to be honest. There's like S-300 strikes, all in these kind of smaller cities behind the front. Obviously, these cities are likely logistics hubs for pushing supplies to the front. But there's been tons of strikes, unfortunately, with a lot of civilian casualties. We've been mapping them. Um, you see these buildings are getting destroyed, often with people sleeping in the building at the time. The these are it's really sad. It's really sad. Um, but and you can tell you. So um, it's not the only place that's been getting hit pretty hard. Um, Zaporizhia got hit the other day by an Iskander. It was right outside of Zaporizhia, in this little suburb town of Stepna. But they got hit by an Iskander. I believe, is this a cluster munition? I think so. Entirely sure. But yeah, there's been a lot of missile strikes. In Odessa today, there was a double tap with 2 ballistic missiles. I believe 20 people died in Odessa, including a Ukrainian commander, apparently. Sumy has been getting hit with both like Sumy the city and Sumy the general region has been getting hit with a lot of Shaheds and missile strikes of various types, including ballistic missiles. So you can see I made kind of a circle of news stories that you can go through and read these stories. So these are all sources that you can look at to see the news about that Shahed attack. And the same day they did another Shahed. I don't know exactly where the other location was, but I think it was a little bit to the east of the initial. There were Shaheds and missile strikes in that city, and more Shaheds and more Shaheds. There are lots of Shaheds in Sumy. And of course, there is a thing that I honestly don't want to talk about because I don't care. This stupid PR nonsense. I don't care. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Probably one of the stupidest things I've seen. It's like, it makes me so angry that this is happening. It's so pointless. We have this, where these Russians surrendering, where they say this is a little white flag on a stick. I don't know, dude. Like, it's just, oh. We have these engineering vehicles that they lost for no reason, doing nothing, accomplishing nothing. There's a very rare armored recovery vehicle that was apparently lost today that I haven't mapped yet. A Russian BMP, wow. A Grad taken out, wow. These, I'm just not impressed. A T-64 mod 2022, one of their most modern, up-to-date tanks, destroyed, filming a TikTok video. It's ridiculous. And if you see where it was destroyed, if you watch the video, it rolled up, shot a shell into a building, and then hit a mine, and then they had to abandon it. Ridiculous. Absurd. It makes me so angry that this is happening. There's no point to this. I see no value. They're filming. Well, here's another thing. This is another thing that makes me angry. This is what really makes me angry. Because these civilians are suffering. Okay, so not only is this stupid, pointless battle going on, but then these people get caught in the crosshairs. Okay? So this bridge was hit by a missile. There's a missile strike on this bridge, right? This is, I don't know why I listed that as an airstrike. It wasn't an airstrike, it was a missile strike. So this was hit by a missile, right? And notice how, tanks are being hit by FPV drones, etc. And at the same time, these people are being forced to evacuate on foot because the only bridge out of town was destroyed by a missile. The only bridge out of town was destroyed by a missile. So these elderly, ill people, some of them struggling to stand up, have to march for kilometers to get out over this terrible terrain, too. It's just, this whole thing makes me angry. It's just a pointless waste of resources. And then What more is there to say? This is one of the stupidest things Ukraine has done. It's incredibly stupid. Yes, Russia hit the bridge. Russia hit the bridge with a missile. Yes. What grinds my gears? Yes, this grinds my gears. Because this is a stupid attack that's lost many, many vehicles. Okay. They lost the T-64, they lost the T-72 AMT. Two very good tanks. Those are very good tanks. Modernized tanks. These aren't junk. They're modernized, good tanks. They lost a T-72 ARV, of which I think Ukraine only had one of, so they lost like the only one they had. That was great. That was donated by the Czechs, I think. They lost these two engineering vehicles. It's just for what? Now, like the whole area is getting hit with, missiles and bombs. This was a no. The bridge was not taken out by a bomb. This bridge was taken out by a bomb, but this is a different bridge. This is a different bridge. The other bridge was taken out by a missile. I don't know what kind of missile, but it was a missile. This one was taken out by bombs, but this is a different bridge. It's a different bridge in a different town. This one's in Vilna, and the other one was in Luhivka. It's also stupid. It's all so stupid, man. I don't see the point of any of this. And they fighting literally on the border. Man, I don't want to talk about it more than that. It doesn't deserve being talked about. It's a PR nonsense. Um, yeah. Yesterday, Shahed crashed in Venezia. One hit the city and it killed a married couple. And their son was pulled out of the rubble and is in the hospital. In addition, two other people were wounded in this smaller city south of the capital. So these two areas got hit by Shaheds. They also shot Shaheds. I believe they're flying towards Rivne. I'm not really sure, but they're shot down around here. They're more near Kyiv, and a few were shot down in Kherson and Mykolaiv and etc. I already talked about Odessa getting hit by a missile today, and yeah, and there's a Shahed strike in Lozova. 2 Shaheds, 8 houses were destroyed. What about Krinky? Over the past few days, from what I understand, Russia took a break for a while. For a few days, they took a break, did nothing in Krinky. Then they started attacking again, but in smaller numbers. And I believe, generally speaking, they're building up strength to do another assault in the near future. Yeah. So that's pretty much all the news I got. I can't remember the day of mourning. Alright, that's all I got. There's another stream going on right now on Tochny, and I will get you a link to that because I think you'll like that, the Tochny, because what they're doing today, I believe. Or man, no, it hasn't started yet, so you haven't missed anything. So I'll put the link in the description. and if you're interested, you can go listen to it. So what this video will be about, I just put the link in the description, by the way. What this video, actually, I'll fix the link because I copied the link from Twitter, so this is like the Twitter shortened link when it's actually just a YouTube video. Here, I'll put the YouTube video link in there, so it's will work better probably. Okay, so what they're going to be talking about is the discharge petition going on in the U.S. House of Representatives. So if you are interested in learning more about the discharge petition, what is a discharge petition, why is it happening, and what could happen from it, you can go listen to that. And it will start soon. I believe that they were supposed to start right now. But it's being pushed back, and I don't remember what time it's being pushed back to. But you could go to that link and it'll. Oh, so it starts at 17:30. Whatever. Just go watch that. So, I'll be back on Tuesday with another stream, probably with Exit, I think. And it was nice having you all here today. I hope you enjoyed it. So it starts in 40 minutes. So you can go listen to that. All right. See you later, everybody. Thank you for coming.